Hello, today I'd like to show you how to do what we call paper bag corners. I think that's probably what they're called in various places. So I have already shown on another video how to make this bag, but it's just the corners today I was going to look at. So to make a bag that's really just a sort of square bag but has got a base in it, we need to make some corners, or we need to be able to trim off those little corners that will allow you to give the bag a base. So I have to that end got a little sample here just to show you how to do the corners. This is just a little pouch that I wanted to make a few of, so I've got that ready here. So I made this bag up the same way. I joined my two sides together so I've done 3 sides of the seam, which I've effectively done here, although I've actually folded the fabric so I haven't got a seam there. But if you've got a bag that's got seams both sides, or whatever it is that you're making, it may not be a bag, you just may need those corners for some reason. So I've got that all ready now to do my corners. So if you were going to make a bag, something like this, I was just going to give you a little bit of an idea of some of the maths involved. Because if you've just made a flat bag like I've got here, it's that deep. As you can see, I've taken some corners off on this little bag, and it's now only that deep rather than the full sort of depth, because some of it's been taken up by going underneath the bottom of the bag. So you would need to allow to go around that, plus all seam allowances, etc. So on this little bag here, I've actually cut this, it was a 5-inch strip, and I've turned my top over and I've taken my 1/4 inch seam allowance here, but I'm going to just pop these corners in here. So the way we do that is I've got my seam here and I've got a seam along the bottom, and because I've already turned my top over, my seams are already going that way because I've overcast them, I'm not opening them or anything like that. And so I'm going to open that out. As you can see here, I can see that that's the bottom seam, and this is the side seam of my little bag. I'm going to open that out so that it's coming at an angle from the point. So there's the point. We're opening that, and we want those seams to match together. So you can do that a little bit by feel, because it's going to butt against each other, so that you can see you want that seam to be nicely meeting at that point. Now when you're working out the size of your corners, it works out that the distance you come from your point to sew this line that we're going to sew across here is half the distance of the base of your bag. So in this case here, the base of my bag coming across here is about 4 inches. So I came in from my point 2 inches, because it would be half that distance. So on this little tiny bag here, I'm just going to come in 1 inch. On the one that I've made here, I came in 1.5 inches. So I've actually got a 3-inch base on that one, but this one I only want to be 1 inch. So now we're taking the measurement not from the point of the fabric, but from the actual point of your bag, which is come in just a little bit. So I'm going to pop a pin in. I'm using the measurements on my board to help me with this. So I've got the point of my bag sitting on this line here, and I'm going to sew 1 inch in from that point. So it's a straight measurement in, and I'm going to sew right the way across from that edge to that edge, which I'll do now, and then show you how that pops out. So I would just do a little lock stitch at the beginning and end, so that, because you don't want this coming undone, this is going to be the corner of your bag base. And come right the way across and lock that off again. It was that simple. So that's now given us a little corner that just sits out flat like that on the inside of the bag, and on the other side of the bag we've got a nice flat base, which is now measuring from corner to corner 2 inches according to the markings on my board, and my line is up the middle there of the seam. So I'll just do the other corner as well. Now because I don't have a seam here to help me line up and butt those together, I'm just going to finger press a line that would come up where the seam would have been, because you don't always have a seam there. And so now I need to know that that fold is going to sit, and you can do a lot of this by feel, but you can also have a look inside. You probably can't, but I can just see my fold. It needs to match up with the seam that I've got going along the bottom of this little bag. And because I haven't got that other seam coming here, I don't have as much bulk here, so my point is readily available for me to see where it is. So you do need to make sure that this seam or fold line is coming in a straight line so that these are going the right way. You can kind of check, because it needs to be at a bit of a right angle. You can check with other markings and things, but as long as that seam line is matching, the rest of it will work for you. And so if you come in 1 inch, you're going to have a 2-inch base. So the distance you come in is half as wide as your base is going to end up. And that works if you want a much bigger base on a bag. You might want a 4-inch wide base, so you would come in 2 inches, and then it'll be 4 inches. If you're making a really much bigger bag, you might come in 3 inches to have a 6-inch base, those sorts of things. It works. That formula is the way it goes. So now, because I've measured in 1 inch, I'm going to sew right the way across again, just like I did before. Let's knock that off. You might want to put a pin the other end just to help you. On a small one you can probably see where you're going. A bigger one you would need to have more markings there. And so there I've done my seam. That's gone across nicely. I've got both corners done now. So that's going to sit, you can see already inside out, that's sitting quite nicely. Now you can trim those off or not as you please. On something small like this, it probably isn't essential to trim them off. On a bigger bag, like I've done in this one here, well, this is a PVC coated fabric, so it's not going to fray or anything, so I have actually just trimmed that off and I've just got an edge. So that corner came out there before, but I've just trimmed that. I might, on a fabric one, like I have in this little one, here I have actually trimmed off that corner already. I haven't yet trimmed this corner, so that's what that one looked like as well. And then I just like to overcast them if they're going to be used for anything so that it doesn't fray. So that's going to be some little pouches that I'm making. So just, it's another one that I'm halfway through. So you don't have to use it for a bag. You might be using corners on something else like a cushion. So I'll just show you a couple of other things that I've used these corners on. So over here I've got a little bag that I'm using for some little jam jars, and so I've made that little bag, and we've got the little paper bag corner that just helps it sit really nicely as a little gift bag. And then I've got a couple of little bags here that I've quilted that have got the same thing. They've got this little corner across the bottom just to give them a nice little base, even though they're not particularly trying to stand up or anything. If you were trying to make a hard base in a bag, you would know your sizing so that you could pop a firm bit inside. This one here is just a small little bag and just only wanted a little narrow base. So I've done that, and I've lined it as well. So I've done the same thing with the lining. I've made those little corners on the inside of the lining so that when I popped it inside, the corners are inside, everything's nice and neat and tidy. But the lining has the little paper bag corner as well. And then over here I've made some cushions, which I thought were quite fun. This one here is just a fun striped fabric, but you can see I've done these little corners all around that just to give it a slightly different shape. I didn't want a rounded one, I didn't want pointy corners, so I've done these same corners on these little cushions here. And this one here with a little bit of applique on it. This is a delicious linen fabric that I've used here. So again, we've got these nice paper bag corners. I've done an X, Y and Z little cushions just for fun. Again, we've got the little paper bag type corners on those just to give them a little bit of a squarish look without that point at each corner. So that was really just to help you work out how to do your corners. Just remember, if you come in from your point, half as far as it's going to end up for your base of your bag. So 1 inch will give you a 2-inch base, 2 inches will give you a 4-inch base, etc. So hopefully that will help you with some little paper bag corners. Thank you.